Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode number 70 of Merritt in the Morning. We have a special show today because our guest is also one of the hosts. So joining me is 30-year State Senator Jim Merritt.
This is Brad Klopfenstein. He is the president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce.
So this week, we're going to be talking, believe it or not, Jim wrote a book.
My second.
Your second book?
My second book.
So Jim, now an award-winning author. I bought you a shot of tequila once. That's an award.
Yeah.
That is a major award right there, Jim. Get you a Wegley up for Christmas, too. So the name of the book, Lessons Learned.
Yes.
Are we ready for the next pandemic? History says no.
Yes, correct.
All right. So we got a lot to get into this.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think it's kind of cool that you wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
I know an author, famous
Yes.
author.
Yes. Well, you know, I've been writing this for 4 years.
Ooh, Jim, you know what? I forgot something. We have sponsors.
We do?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, we're going to get back to that. We want to thank Stockyards Bacon Trust.
Silly us.
Silly us, sorry. The
Paying
people
the
that
bills.
pay us to be here. Stockyards Bacon Trust, location 71st in Binford, downtown Indianapolis, Carmel, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, coming any day now to Zionsville, and after that, Whitestown and Fishers.
Yeah, that Zionsville is 421 Michigan Road and 116th Street.
That'll be your closest branch. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I bank at 116th in Illinois. Stockyards Bank there in Carmel.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay.
Thank you, Paula.
Yes. Thank you, Paula and Stockyards Bank, for supporting us in this little
So we
endeavor.
try to support you in a little way.
Yes, we do. We also want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company.
Oh boy, we support them.
Oh my God, I love it, Jim.
We need to have lunch there.
We do. Okay, that might happen today or tomorrow or sometime.
Yeah.
So, locations: 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass in Carmel. Easter is coming. If you need any sort of deli trays or to go, they will take care of you. You can also
Chocolate
eat
cake.
chocolate. Oh my gosh, desserts, sides, soups. So they will hook you up. Or if you want to just go and have lunch or dinner, you can do that too.
Inside,
yeah, they've got
and the staff.
tables.
You know, there's a cow daughter that will greet you at the counter in Carmel.
Who's the one at 96 in Michigan that makes the soup?
Russ.
Yep.
He makes the soup.
So he does a great job.
Soup's good.
So stop by there. In fact, I would eat all your meals there. All right. So you've been working on this book how long now? 4 years?
4 years.
4 years. So why did you even want to write a book on this topic?
When I stepped away from the Senate in November 2020, that last year of my term in office of 30, the pandemic took hold.
Yeah.
And I can remember going to the microphone in the Indiana Senate on March 3rd and talking about the little commission, not little commission, but a commission the governor had put together to talk about this, flu, this disease, whatever was happening in the world. And because the month of January was chaotic in Washington, and February as well, and people were starting to ask questions. And so I went to the microphone with my laptop, and I showed everyone that the governor had created really a nascent group of people to start talking about what was happening. And for that summer of 2020, I saw lots of crisis communication managers come through the State House and into room 206 where the governor's office is. And this was serious business. The Holcomb administration was flying blind, just like the Trump administration. And no one really knew what to do. And there were so many voices out there that were so-called experts. And I watched this chaotic approach, this chaotic response where people couldn't go to church. They couldn't go to the grocery. Well, they could go to the grocery because it was essential. And we had this conversation about mask or not mask, who was essential in the way of employment, who was non-essential. Friends of mine were dying because they, and why were they dying? And children, were they allowed to go to school or not? And and senior citizens were really the most at risk. It was just a mosh pit of questions, and there was a lot of confusion, and the governor, who ended up having 70 executive orders, pretty much reigning over Indiana, not really bringing the legislature in to talk about it. And so you had lots of crisis communications, and there really wasn't a concerted effort to funnel it in and have an expert who was leading the way in Washington or here for that matter. And so everybody was doing their best, but there were so many voices that most of Indiana was confused. And the governor had, if you recall, had his 1:30 Facebook Live,
yes,
where he would be telling individuals around the state what to do and what not to do, and try and hunker down, which I don't like that term, hunker down.
Yeah,
but it was kind of surreal with having to be sheltered in place and being at home, and so we obviously have survived it, but 2020 was a very chaotic year, and everybody was learning on the way, from the leaders to the communities. And so when that happened, I watched after I stepped away in November 2020, and by the time 2022 had come along, I had a lot of questions, and I was hoping that some sort of commission or something would come along that would be grown out of the federal government or state government of exactly what happened and what we were going to do in the future. What we did right, we as a society, and what we did wrong, and how we can correct it. And I saw nothing. And so by 2022, I had kind of sat back and my business sense with my dad as my teacher of anticipating problems and fixing things and being not making the same mistake twice. And I saw nothing there. And the Holcomb administration did their level best in the sessions coming on after 2022 that healthcare in the way of their Department of Health in all 92 counties needed funding because we were so siloed with hospitals, healthcare, and government care with Board of Health, so siloed that they did their best to kind of fund local government in regards to public health. But there was really just no effort to put a bow on what we did right, what we did wrong. And thus, I started writing this book to talk about all the pandemics from the beginning of a time all the way up to the Spanish flu, and what everybody had forgotten about through the American medical century and understanding science to COVID. And it just seemed like whenever we had a problem and it dealt with a pandemic, the pandemic ended and then it was swept under the rug.
So that year, 2020, the legislature sine-died early March.
Yes,
literally
March 11th.
March 11th. So literally less than a week before just everything halted.
That's exactly right.
So how do you think Indiana would have reacted differently had it been a long session or the governor called you back in?
With his proclivity, his protocols of having executive orders to lead Indiana, and his administration was struggling just like everybody else. So there's not a pox in everybody's house about this book.
Struggling also the same as making it up on the fly?
Yes. Okay. And lessons learned is not a critical piece. It's a piece of, we need to look at ourselves and America. And I offer solutions in the last chapter of what we need to do going forward. And we can talk about that as well. But I'm not. This book is not to throw stones.
Right.
This book is to organize ourselves for the next coming, If number one, it wasn't a long session, so it's hard to kind of answer that question. However, what would have happened was that we would have, I would assume, and you know what happens when you assume, but I would assume that our leadership of me and myself being included in that, we would have passed a quick budget and sine die, and probably mirrored the previous budget that we had been operating under. But
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we just don't know. And if you recall, the governor and the legislature did not play nice with a lot of different issues, and so he didn't call us back into special session. If it would have been a long session, to answer your question, I have no idea what would have happened.
Okay. And there's no mechanism for the legislature to kind of push the issue and say, call us back in.
No.
And was there even a desire to do so?
Yeah. Within a day or two of adjourning sine die, I was suggesting to our leadership, Senator Bray, that the legislative leadership go in and see the governor on Fridays to get a review. Everybody was learning things on Facebook Live, of which only covered 65% of the state, because broadband only covers 65% of the state. So you're not talking to all 6 million Hoosiers when you're doing that. So I suggested we go in and see the governor on Fridays just to get a kind of review so we could help him.
Yeah.
And that was tried after 3 or 4 Fridays. That was not permitted or invited. And there was just peaks and valleys of he didn't want a mask mandate. Then he calls a mask mandate, and not really informing the legislature. So, communication between the legislature and the governor was not the best at that time.
So, if you're just now tuning in, Jim wrote a book, Lessons Learned. So we're talking about his book because it covers the pandemic. Its parallels to the Spanish flu outbreak that was almost 100 years prior. Mm-hmm. Weird how that happens about every 100 years.
But the thing is, we didn't have Amazon.com, where you can get this book along with BarnesandNobleOnline.com.
Look at you. You're a fine pitch man for your book. So I want to ask, this book, you come up with some conclusions, and it's not a critical book by any stretch. What are the parallels between the Spanish flu and then COVID-19? Well,
parallels are interesting because no one really knew anything about the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, like I said, kind of gone, just swept under the rug until FDR, who was laid up for a couple of weeks with the Spanish flu. He was Assistant Secretary of the Navy at the time, and he pledged to himself that he was going to do something about medicine or science in the United States of America. And he started us off on kind of mirroring with what Germany does. Germany funded their scientific research, and back in the 1880s, 1900s, we relied on foundations to do so. Mm-hmm. And so what Roosevelt decided to do is having federal government start to fund scientific research. And so we knew what was going on, and lots of agencies like the CDC got their birth from that, and so they call the 20th century the American century, but it's really the American science century, because science in America grew and was so much more profound in its assistance to its constituents and to Americans as a whole, and so. The parallels with the Spanish flu are that lots was discovered but forgotten.
Right.
And John Barry wrote a great book about the Spanish flu and how it came about and how many people it killed. And that is a relatively new book that really kind of shed light on the Spanish flu 100 years later. And so to me, COVID-19 has been swept under the rug. There are a lot of books that were written in 2022 that were kind of in the kind of mix of what was going on. And there was really only one pamphlet from a commission that Susan Brooks actually served on the commission, looking at COVID-19, and there was also 34 experts that wrote something about Trump being a morbidity type of a character. But there hasn't been anybody that's really looked back, and it's been 4 years now, and looked back and kind of compared the Spanish flu with COVID-19, as well as offered solutions. And that's what I do in this book.
So you were watching,
available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobleOnline.com.
You were watching Merritt in the Morning. Our guest is also a host this week. So Jim wrote a book, Lessons Learned. Are we ready for the next pandemic? History says no. Before we get back and talk more about the book, we want to thank our sponsors. The Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass in Carmel. Stop by there for lunch, dinner, or just help with your party needs. They make it simple. Don't kill yourself getting ready for a party, Jim. Just let them do it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, it makes it easy. It's not expensive. Tell them you heard about them on Merritt in the Morning. Stop by. They'll say, oh, we know those guys.
Yep.
Also want to thank Stockyards Bank and Trust. Locations at 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, opening any day now in Zionsville, and then Whitestown will be next, and Fishers after that. So
fabulous.
They are. They're fabulous.
Great
people.
Great small company, small business.
Yes, they are. So, all right. So back to the book, Lessons Learned. So on this, are there things that we did that were wrong when we had the Spanish flu, that they then did it again and were wrong again?
Well, the Spanish flu was a different type of pandemic because it was, there were people there was a parade in Philadelphia, and it was a Liberty parade. They were raising money for the bonds for the World War I.
Yeah.
And people were dropping dead in the street, and they learned, for instance, there was a Philadelphia parade, and then there was a big parade that was scheduled in St. Louis, and St. Louis saw what happened in Philadelphia, so they canceled it. So because of the death that came with that parade, there were more people affected by the Spanish flu, meaning that military personnel that were killed. More people died from the Spanish flu that were military personnel than actually got killed in World War I.
Yeah. Now, my understanding is that the Spanish flu probably had as much to do with World War I ending as anything else.
Yeah, because it was survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And it affected everyone. Whereas COVID-19 really, people who have had some sort of ailment that had some sort of underlying medical problem, or senior citizens, those are the individuals that really were affected by COVID-19.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson learned for the future for us. When you look at pandemics, and there were 17 situations since the Spanish flu that that presidents actually had to handle, if you will, and the stockpile was American stockpile was started, and then wasn't replenished, and it just seems as though it doesn't seem so. It's true. It's a fact that when something bad happened in regard to a pandemic or a threat of a pandemic, we got through it, and then everybody forgot. and didn't move on and didn't use any lessons learned from it at all.
So, all right. So if this is going to happen 95 years from now again, what lessons have we learned that generation should learn from these two instances now? What did we do right? What are the things we did that really didn't make any difference? How should we react next time?
I'm not sure what we did right in COVID-19. I think that's a really good question. The reason why I wrote the book is because I wanted to, number one, remind everybody that COVID-19, because I talked to a legislator once, and I said, they asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm writing a book, and what's it about? And I told him, and he said, well, that's never going to happen again.
Maybe not in your lifetime.
COVID-19, it could be COVID-26 or some sort of pandemic, and no one is going to sit at home.
Yeah.
No, everybody wants to go to church. They want to go to the grocery. They want to go to the gym. And one of the reasons why I put the subtitle, "Are we ready for the next pandemic?" History says no, because no one's going to follow anybody, because government does not have the credibility right now to be led, be guided, and that I am going to go home and not go to my job and support my family.
So, do you think that has something to do with kind of the lack of trust in government that we're seeing right now?
Oh, I think it's amplified the lack of trust in government, and there's so many things that have come out in the last 4 years that kind of rendered government useless, and their credibility and the trust and that they can handle big things, big assignments, big emergencies. And that's really what COVID was. And the first thing that I point to is communication. There were too many experts, so-called experts, talking about what we should be doing. And that has to be corrected. And the idea of the credibility of government, and not have society die. You have to, and in the book I talk about the metaphor of a tree growing, a society growing as a tree,
Mm-hmm.
and you only know the journey of a tree if you cut it off, and you can see the rings where maybe it suffered for one season or 2 seasons. And society is a lot like that, and if you look at the metaphor of a society, you have to. That tree, that society has to have nourishment. It has to have good soil. It has to be watered. Society, you have to put things in to protect people, and you have to make sure that people are safe and they're educated. And if not, that tree is going to die. And if a society doesn't have trust, it isn't safe, it isn't educated, it's going to die. And I fear that society is going to die if we don't understand what the lessons of COVID-19 are, because it's really the source of feeling safe in our society, feeling that people care about us, and that everybody knows, versus 65% of Facebook Live on an afternoon podcast. And so there's a lot of things that have to go into our local government, our health, our hospitals, our healthcare, our local public health agencies. There just has to be an awakening that we're all going the right direction. That it's that we're prepared for the future, and we will have a pandemic, not 95 years from now. I don't know when it is, but we need to prepare ourselves now.
So, what are the things? So, are the things we should be stockpiling now? Well, let's just say Jim Merritt is governor.
Yes.
So, how does Jim Merritt handle this? What would be the first thing you would do, and then where would we go from there?
I walk into room 206 the day I'm inaugurated, and I get Democrats and Republicans alike from the Indiana General Assembly. I get as many mayors as I can together. I get the education leaders. I get the religious leaders together, and I listen to all of them on their experience with COVID-19 and what the mistakes were in their mind, and the liberties that were taken away from us. And you get all that experience in meetings, and then you put them all together, and you come with a plan to make people safe and feel safe, because feeling safe is much more than being safe, because it's that idea that things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think if I were governor, first of all, I would listen to everybody, and then second of all, we would create a plan going forward to kind of gather trust, and you also have to come with some sort of program that what were the mistakes we made in government, in lots of walks of life. Nobody wants to suffer the embarrassment of saying we made a mistake. You can't make a mistake in society these days and not suffer from it. I would try to ingratiate. I would try to communicate to all 6 million Hoosiers that what the mistakes were made, how they're going to be fixed, and what the plan is going forward. And that's what good leaders do.
So I'll just throw out some what ifs. So churches, would you suggest that they suspend their services for a while, or that?
I think that was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think we need to be in a better situation where that first of all, we're trustworthy.
Yeah.
And if we're trustworthy, we would give people instructions on how they would approach church services. But I would really leave it up to them as to what the problems will ensue by gathering. I think our medical industry, our hospitals, and our healthcare workers. I think you have to number one, and I cover this in the book. We need to bulk up that society of people that care about health, and it's almost like going to battle, and you have a regiment, and you have flanks, and you have everybody going the same direction, and it has to almost be like an orchestra. But the center point of the orchestra has to be truth.
Yes. So we're running out of time here, but I do want to ask, I mean, clearly COVID-19 ended up leading to the unrest of the summer of 2020.
Yes.
How do you avoid that next time?
Well, there are a lot of reasons why there was a lot of unrest. But I think clear communication, the people in the federal government, and we all know who they are, at one point didn't want masks. And then they said masks, but they didn't do any studies on what the very best mask would be. Mm-hmm. Japan knew. Other countries around the country did such a far better job than we did, and they had communication. They had actually had worked towards this point in time. They were ready, and we were not ready. We need to be ready next time.
Cool. Jim Merritt has been our guest and our host. He wrote a book, Lessons Learned. Are we
available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobleOnline.com.
Get a copy, give it as Christmas gifts, birthday gifts. Are we ready for the next pandemic? History says no. Jim, thank you. This was neat. Now I can say I know two published authors, probably more than that, but you and Damian Mason at least, for sure. We want to thank again our sponsors, the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass and Carmel, and Stockyards Bank and Trust. Locations downtown Indianapolis, 71st and Benford, Carmel, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, coming soon to Zionsville, after that Whitestown, So thanks to our sponsors. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Josh Gillespie, our producer, and thanks to Cafe Audrey's for letting us do this here every week. So
work hard, be nice.
Work hard, be nice. Stay tuned. We'll see you next.
1, 2,